Hello, everyone, and welcome to ThinkUp's webinar series. We'll give it a few more minutes for the rest of our attendees to join us. In the meanwhile, if you'd like to write in the chat where you're joining us from, maybe what startup idea you're working on, just so we can kind of get to know each other. And we'll begin in just a minute or two. Again, welcome, welcome. I see our participant numbers rising here. Welcome to our webinar series. While we wait for everyone to join, feel free to write in the chat, introduce yourself, where are you joining us from, what kind of idea are you working on? Help us get to know you a little bit before we start. Again, we'll be starting in just a few minutes. Hello, hello, and welcome to our new participants just joining us right now. Feel free to write in the chat, introduce yourselves. Where are you joining us from? What kind of an idea are you working on? Help us get to know you just a little bit before we begin. We'll be starting in just 1 minute. I'm just waiting for the last participants to join, and we'll jump right in. Amazing, amazing. I see everyone is starting to write in the chat. Excellent. Throughout this webinar, and we'll talk about this again, you can always feel free to add questions in the Q&A box that should be on the bottom of your screen. Those are the questions that we'll address at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions about what we're talking about, any of the topics we're discussing, anything startup related, you can drop them in the Q&A box, and we will get hopefully to as many as we can. Excellent, okay. Amazing, I see we have quite a global audience here, which is exciting. All right, I think we're ready to get started. So here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to ThinkUp's webinar series. We're really happy to have you here with us. I'm Chev from the ThinkUp team, and I will be your host today. ThinkUp, for those who don't know, is an AI-powered platform that gives you a clear path from idea to traction, with structure, tools, support, and confidence at every step to validate your idea and move forward to investor readiness. The topics we're going to go over today are all topics that ThinkUp can support you with throughout your founder journey. Before we introduce our speakers, I just want to reiterate again, this is an open two-way conversation. At any time, feel free to drop your questions in the question and answer box that should be on the bottom of your screen, the Q&A box, and our speakers will try and get to as many as we can at the end of this session. Joining me today are Ohad Shaked, co-founder of ThinkUp, and Nir Milamud, ThinkUp's investments and partnership manager, who I have the pleasure of working with and have a lot to teach us about startups in general. Ohad, can you kick us off? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're really happy and excited that you joined us for this webinar. I've been an early stage startup investor for the last couple of decades. I've invested in various industries: software, life science, defense, clean tech, neurotech, gaming, you name it. I've invested in dozens of companies, over $50 million over the years. Some are more successful, some are less successful. And over the last 7 or 8 years or so, I've been building my own two startups. And I now realize, the exact pains and challenges that you're facing as well. I've seen it from both sides, from a founder perspective, also from as an investor perspective. And we're very happy to share our experience and knowledge and lessons that we learned today with you. So hopefully
Amazing.
this is going to be very helpful for you.
Thank you so much, Ohad. Nir, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, thanks, Chef. Thank you. And hi, everyone. So I've been advising B2C, B2B startups for over 18 years or so on go-to-market, business strategy, growth, and investment readiness. Along the way, I built companies, invested as an angel and through VC funds, and supported early-stage ventures through their earliest needs and challenges. At ThinkUp, I focus mostly on scouting, assessing, and deciding on potential investment opportunities, hopefully bringing the entrepreneurial lens that help founders move faster with the right support and guidance. So thank you, and thank you for joining here, and looking forward to hearing your questions.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the agenda. Today, we're diving into a critical topic, how to make sure that your startup is solving a real painful need, not just a nice to have idea. We're going to cover three focus topics. First, why painkillers win and vitamins often don't, and we'll go into what those terms mean. How to spot real customer pain points. And number three, how to evolve your idea into a must-have solution. After that, we'll open it up for questions. Again, there's a Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Any questions that you ask there will go onto our list of questions to cover at the end of this webinar. Before we jump in, we'd like to start with a little icebreaker poll to get to know you and understand where the audience is at. We want to ask you, how confident are you that your startup is solving a critical problem? In a second or so, you should see a poll pop up on your screen. Choose one of the available options. Are you very confident, somewhat confident, not sure yet, or I need help figuring this out? You'll have about a minute to vote, and then we'll move forward. Excellent. Okay. All right. So a broad spectrum of responses here. Most people are somewhat confident, which makes sense, and we'll gear our conversation to towards that kind of founder. Okay. So the first agenda topic that we're going to dive into is why painkillers win. Nir, why do we say that painkillers win?
Yeah, so thanks, Jeff. So at the earliest stages, founders have to bear in mind that urgency beats both innovation and tech parts of the startup. Painkillers, by definition, solve painful, frequent, and many times costly problems, making it much easier for founders to sell their solution and then retain users. So when I consider investment opportunity, one of the first questions that I ask is, what evidence do you have that, this is a burning issue? Are your users desperately looking to fix something? Or maybe just a nice to have that they could live without it? Most successful startups that I know made the user really immediate relief or had a 10x wow factor over what the users used to have before. Let me try to give you an example. So one fintech company I worked with simplifies tax reporting for freelancers. There's nothing glamorous with numbers and tax reporting, but completing these forms is such a painful task that 90% of the users end up converted to paying customers at their first try of the solution. Again, when the pain is so critical, the users urge to solve it immediately.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nir. Ohad, what's your perspective on this?
Yeah, so I absolutely agree. And we have to be very focused on the user. We have to listen carefully to what they are saying and how they are saying. For example, if they're presented with a solution and they're saying, yeah, it's cool, we like it, that could be a red flag because that's not a clear signal of urgency and real pain. But on the other hand, when they're saying this could save me a lot of time, a lot of frustration, that's a small but a clear signal of a pain. For example, today I'll be talking to a travel professional. Right now, we're guiding and helping a founder building a platform for travel professionals. And I wanted the opinion of a potential customer, of a travel professional. And she said, sure, a platform like that would save me tons of time. The other solutions that I currently have are cumbersome, are slow, not efficient, and I would most definitely check out that platform. It could save me a lot of time. So that's a good signal. That's something we are looking for.
Excellent. So it seems the key takeaway here is that startups win when they solve urgent, painful problems, not just when they're building cool tech. Let's dive into our second agenda item here. How to identify real pain points. Spotting those real pain points is not always obvious. It's easy to hear surface feedback and miss what's really driving user frustration or urgency. So let's talk about how you can actually uncover those deeper, actionable insights. Ohad, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, of course. So we need to talk less about our own idea, our own solution, and focus on the user and listen more carefully to what they are saying. We would like to hear words like hate, frustrated, losing money, losing time, and we should use open-ended questions like, what challenges are you facing when you're trying to complete a certain task? And then the following question would be, what have you tried doing to solve those challenges, to overcome them? Now, if a user says, just shrugs his shoulder, he hasn't done anything to solve that problem, that's a sign that it's not an urgent pain, it's not a big problem. And therefore, we shouldn't pursue that. But on the other hand, if a user saying that they've tried building their own solution, they have bought a few solutions to try and address those challenges, they've spent money, they hired consultants, they're trying to stitch or patch their own solution, that's a good sign that is an urgent pain, that's a problem that they would pay to solve it. So, for example, we recently heard about a founder who talked to warehouse managers. And those warehouse managers were trying to patch together shipping data from three different platforms. They were creating Excel files to patch together that data from different platforms. That means it's a real pain. And that founder showed them his solution, and they quite quickly they bought it. And obviously he found market fit because that was a real pain.
Excellent. Thank you, Ohad. Nir, how do you guide founders to measure whether their pain is real enough?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, Chev. I usually used to look through two simple lenses. The first one is frequency. How often do the users face, a critical pain or challenge? And the second one is about the severity of it. So how costly or frustrating is it to them? Does it hurt them and damage the user? If the pain happens daily and causes, financial, operation, or emotional frustration, you're really onto something here.
Cool. Okay. So the takeaway here is that real pain shows up often and hurts deeply. You can uncover it by listening to what frustrates users most in their daily work. Again, I just want to remind everyone that any questions you may have while we're speaking and while the webinar is going on, drop them in the Q&A box and we will go over them at the end of this webinar. Okay. Nir, do you want to talk about how ThinkUp can help founders spot these painkillers?
Yeah. So one of the important steps inside ThinkUp called the customer insight model. And basically, it helps you plan your user interviews properly, not just deciding, what to ask, but also making sure you're asking open-ended questions that reveal both the frequency part along with the severity of the user pain. This is important. The platform even auto-generates a full interview script for you, based on the idea, your idea, specific idea, and the target audiences. So you can focus on finding out if you're really solving the critical problem. A true painkiller, not just a nice to have.
Excellent. Thank you, Nir. With that, let's jump into our third agenda item, how to turn your idea into a must-have. So once we've identified a real pain point and used the wonderful resources and tools that we have, how do we turn our startup into a must-have? Nir, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah. So you basically need to anchor everything around the user's before and after story. And the before is usually around, pain. It's painful there. Wasted hours, lost money, frustration, and boredom, depends. And the after story is all about the relief part. So simplicity, clarity, saving time or cost. So when you're trying to turn your startup into a must-have, you don't need to think on fancy features, that takes a long time to develop, but rather focus on the feeling of relief you deliver with your solution, the transformation that your users will experience.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nir. Ohad, what's your best advice for early stage founders here?
Yes, so once we found a few pain points, real urgent problems that customers are facing, we need to craft our solution, our capabilities to address those needs. And for example, one founder was trying to build a social network. And then when he interviewed his potential customers, he realized that they're looking actually for discounts for all sorts of merchandise, starting from cars and through furniture. And he turned his idea, his planned social network, into actually a marketplace that offers discounts. And in that way, he received much better response from his customers.
Excellent. Thank you, Ohad. Okay, we're going to move now to our question and answer session. And after that, we'll talk about a few tangible resources that we can offer to help you move forward as founders in this area. So our takeaway here from this agenda item is that great products create visible transformation from pain to relief by obsessing over the user's real journey. Now let's move on to our question and answer session of the day. Here we go. So we have quite a few questions here. Let's start with here. What are the chances the slides will be shared after? The chances are great. You'll get the slides to your email after this webinar is over. Okay. Okay, our first question. Can you give some tips to consider when identifying the pain points of the spiritual pain that CEOs and leaders go through, but can't identify that type of pain? So I think what you're talking about here is the pain points, like the emotional pain points that CEOs go through. Nir, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, let's see if I got it right. So the emotional, you consider emotional pains, but these could also be considered as emotional needs, and the two ways of looking at it. And actually, it's very important in general to consider both functional needs and emotional needs. That is super important. And I like this question, because it means that you're thinking in the emotional, you're looking through emotional lenses at needs and pains. And this is super great. And actually, we put a lot of emphasis on that on ThinkUp too, because most founders are looking at or considering functional needs. Okay, what's not working? Let's fix that, features wise, and so on and so forth. And the emotional needs is actually key in converting to clients. Super. So absolutely, this is super important. I hope I answered the core question here.
Amazing. Ohad, this next question is for you. What did Ohad mean? Don't fall in love with your idea, fall in love with your user.
Well, obviously, most of us are entrepreneurs because we like to create stuff. We like to build stuff. We like to code. And it's very easy to fall in love with our own ideas. And we think that our products are great, but other people might not share the same pain. And they might say it's a great product, it's a great solution, but they won't be willing to buy it. So we always have to build something that people want, that it resonates with other people, with our potential customers. So think about them, uh, get to know them, especially well, and build something that resonates with them, that targets their needs, not yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Ohad. Okay, our next question comes from Sasha. I've had amazing feedback from users that I've interviewed so far. The only concern that some people had was that there are similar solutions already in the market. Do you believe branding is vital to differentiation?
Should I take it?
Yeah. Go for it, Nir.
And Oad, you can, of course, come in right after. Yeah, so being being differentiated from the competition is a whole story. Okay, I'm trying to kind of be focused here because eventually it means that you need to map the competitive landscape and beforehand understand which needs do you solve in which way, and then see if it's if there is a differentiation. Now your core question is about branding and if this is a key thing to differentiate yourself from others. And I would say in most cases I wouldn't start with branding. That's because branding is takes time first. It most of the time costly. You need to, put a lot of resources. By the way, not only money, but also time and effort in producing sometimes content and position yourself in certain ways, and that just takes time. And in the startup world, you don't have so much time because every month costs burn you money. So this is and by the way, not just burn you money, it's also the market drives forward. So the market, you need to outpace the market pace. So I wouldn't start with branding as a differentiation. I would look for other differentiators more related to the need itself.
Excellent. Okay.
Absolutely.
Ohad, do you have anything you want to add there?
Yeah, usually I agree. As Nir said, focus on specific need. Usually it's about using some great tech. We focus usually on great tech. But if it's not about great tech, if your solution is just another solution out there in the market, and if you're a marketing or a branding specialist, then you might consider going for a brand that could be differentiator. But usually, as Nir said, I would go for branding only later. I wouldn't base my startup on branding.
Excellent. Okay. Nir, our next question is one that you're going to love. It's from an anonymous attendee. If my customer audience is students, but the person with purchasing power is their parent, whose pain point should I focus on?
Oh, this is I do like this question. um, so first of all, we are talking about having end users and decision makers. Okay, this is what is described here. The student is the end user, and the paying or decision maker, maybe the payer or the buyer, is the other parents. Now, first you need to map both. To make it like a bottom line, like a simple, you need to map the needs and pains for both. This is a students and parents question, but if I take it one step forward and discuss on businesses, sometimes you have many decision makers, different roles that are involved in the decision-making process. So you need to map them all. So not just one end users and one decision makers, could be even more in certain cases. So definitely, and consider the pains. And the more you deep dive and validate those needs and pains through interviews, through surveys, and you get them validated, you need to make sure that your solution answers both needs. That's where it can become complicated. Or sometimes um, you need to solve. And I'm not talking about the tech, okay? Bear with me here. It doesn't mean that your tech needs to solve both needs in that case. Sometimes your tech needs to solve the end user's need, but your go-to-market and business model strategy should solve the other party. I hope that makes sense.
Excellent. If anyone wants to follow up or has further questions at the end of this, we're going to reach out and send you this webinar. You can always respond and continue this conversation offline. Okay, I have a challenging one here. Ohad, maybe you'll take this one. Ron asks, if, as Steve Jobs said, people don't know what they want until you show it to them, isn't asking customers what they want the wrong starting point?
Yeah, obviously. Well, we didn't mean that we want to ask customers what do they want. We're trying to ask them what are they trying to achieve and what are their needs and what pains and challenges are they experiencing. We're not asking them for the solution. We're asking them for, on a general basis, what are they trying to achieve? What is the job they're trying to achieve? And what are the challenges? That's it. Once we come up with a solution, we present the solution and get their feedback and validate the solution itself.
Excellent. Thank you.
I hope that's
that was a great answer. Nir, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so it really emphasizes the process. Okay, so the first part, as Ohad just said rightfully, it's about the assumption that you make about needs and pains, and then validating them. Okay, we're not talking about solution. This is the process. The solutions comes after. And once you build or conceptualize your solution on those pains and needs that were validated, only then you go out maybe to the same people that you interviewed earlier, maybe to new ones, and then test things with the conceptualized product and solution that you just did. But it's a process. You need to get there first.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, a question from Sarah. I have an idea for a unique product which I think is solving a real life problem. What do I do from here?
So, Sarah, we suggest that first you try to find your potential customers, try to identify them, your ICP, your ideal customer profile, age, gender, location, occupation, all of that stuff, maybe habits, interests. Try to locate them. Go to all sorts of Reddit groups, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, social. Try and post some posts about the problem, those issues, those challenges, and try to gather as much feedback from those people as much as possible. And as we said throughout this webinar, try to listen to them and to hear words like hate, waste, losing money, losing productivity, losing time. Validate the problem first. Then come up with a solution, plan a solution, a mock-up, a demo, a video, a prototype, and then present that solution, that prototype to the same potential customers and get their feedback. If you got a good feedback regarding your solution, your proposed solution, you're on the right way. And otherwise, you have to make changes according to the feedback that you got. That's basically how you start.
Excellent. Thank you, Ohad. Nir, do you have anything to add to that?
I think it covers it.
Excellent. Okay. We'll do one last question, which kind of relates to what you were just saying, Ohad. This question is from Maria. How do I reposition my idea if it feels more like a nice to have right now?
How to
So
represent
maybe,
you.
yeah, Nir,
Right.
feel free to take it.
Yeah, so repositioning is a tricky word here, to be honest, because it's not just it's not necessarily just a perceived thing, okay? Something you perceive as one thing and then the other. It's really about the strategy or the concept that you are going that you are aiming to. What do I mean by that? Eventually, it's all about so positioning is against someone else. Okay, it's a little bit like differentiation. Others solve the critical need, okay, in one way, and you may come with another way to solve the same need, the same challenge, okay, and that positions you in a certain way. And it's more what I'm trying to say is that it's really important to have a unique value proposition, one. And this is, again, a positioning thing. So we are the first that do that, is the kind of wording that you want to use. Or we are the only one who do that part, okay? It depends on the case. And that takes me more to the marketing positioning effort that you need to do. How do you bring that to the pain? Okay, how do you move it to the from being a nice to have to a must have to a painkiller? It's about first identifying what would be a painkiller, and then directing your solution to there. That's what I would do.
Excellent. Thank you, Nir. Ohad, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. You have to go back to the drawing board, make more conversation, take a look again at the transcript, at the interviews that you've done, listen again, read them, see if you find any gold there. I mean, look for the answers. Maybe there are places that you missed, and places where people interviewees told you that that's a great pain. Maybe there's something else that you haven't noticed. If you do find them in the interviews that you've already conducted, focus on those needs. Focus on those pains. If you haven't heard anything that could be a real urgent pain, you have to look again. Maybe look for a different domain. Other people, other customers, look for other topics. But you might have to start all over again. That's a big one. It's not an easy one.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ohad and Nir, for answering these questions. We're going to wrap up the Q&A session now. I see a lot of questions here about specific business ideas. Is this a need or a pain? And specific questions about personal founder journeys. I really encourage you at the end of this webinar, we're going to send out opportunities for mentorship sessions with Ohad and Nir. I encourage you to reach out and continue the conversation there. Thank you so much to everybody who asked and who shared with us. So before we wrap up, let's just talk about the key takeaways from this webinar session. The first is to make sure you're solving real urgent pains, not just nice to haves. The second is to listen carefully for emotional and financial pain signals from your potential users. And the third is to frame your solution as transformational relief. Nir, do you want to share a bit about how ThinkUp supports founders in turning their ideas into a real painkiller?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jeff. So at ThinkUp, the platform guides users through a structured process of customer insight, problem validation, user interviews, helping you not just chase ideas in isolation, but to make sure you're solving real urgent problems, as we talked, and building a strong business framework around it. Now, we know that running user interviews takes time and effort. We know that. Going out there, interviewing people is many times an obstacle to many people. That's why we built ThinkUp. We wanted to make the process as simple and efficient as possible, from helping you plan who you talk to generating ready-to-use interviews script that undercover real user needs, everything that will ease the interview process. I invite you all to join the platform and start building your startup idea from the ground up. And if you need extra support along the way, we are here. Our mentoring team is here to help you. And, just to stay focused and maximize your insight you gather. Once you're registered, you'll also have the access to weekly office hours and continuous chat support. So whenever you hit a snag, we'll try to help you.
Excellent. Thank you, Nir. Ohad, do you have any final words before we wrap up this session?
We hope you learned from our experience and the knowledge we shared today. And, we're going to help you build your startup. Hopefully it's going to be a bit easier journey, maybe increase your chances of success. Remember, we're here for you and we're going to be glad to help. So just reach out.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ohad. Thank you to all of you who joined us today. Thank you to Ohad and Nir for taking the time to talk about these important topics and answer questions from founders looking for these exact answers. I invite you all you listening out there, to register to the ThinkUp platform. It's free, not for long, so get it while it's hot. To join us on LinkedIn, follow us to see upcoming webinars and other resources that we share to help you in the startup journey. You're all eligible, once you've signed up for this webinar, you're eligible for a free mentorship session. So you'll receive an email about that following this webinar. And if you are a registered user on ThinkUp, you can join us for office hours, where we go online and talk about different topics related to the founder journey. And you can also discuss with founders in a similar stage to you about what problems you're facing and how you can solve them. Thank you so much. We love these conversations, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.